Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So you already probably read the title and you were probably thinking, well, this is probably clickbait, but let me check and see if anything is new here, right? But one thing that I want to say right now, before we actually dive on into this video, no, this is not clickbait. I truly do believe that traditional stocks and even crypto is about to shock a lot of people. And the reason why I say that is because there is a very big reversal right now starting to heat up behind all of the noise. I really do want to take a moment to analyze all of this in this video to really kind of make sure that you guys are prepared for what does happen next. Now, first off, I do want to analyze the overall daily performance of crypto because so far it has been a pretty good day. Now, do I think that this is going to withstand the weekend price action? Because we know weekend price action is manipulation essentially. There's also more tariff discussions getting announced, I think on Sunday, from what I've been hearing. So we have to watch, wait, and see what happens. But I'm not too focused on what happens over the weekend. I'm more so focused on what happens next week. But so far, pretty good green day. Nothing too crazy. In terms of the actual market cap of crypto, pretty stable. 1.18% is the total gain today. We see Bitcoin still trading around $84,000. XRP up about 3%, nothing too crazy, about $2.12. I know earlier XRP was actually performing pretty good off of the lows, but for the most part, we still have yet to actually break over any of the previous highs. The good news is that $2 has so far held up on XRP, 82,000 has held up on Bitcoin, so major support is still pretty much intact when it comes to these projects in terms of like Bitcoin and even XRP. Now, most of the space in terms of altcoins, they are ranging on like 2023 support. A lot of them are basically completely bottomed out, in my opinion. So I'm definitely focused on accumulating a few gems. We'll definitely be letting everyone know in the Discord on what I do buy. But outside of that, the rich list bought for XRP, we could actually see that a lot of buy pressure was happening today. We have over 3.2 million getting bought on Bitso. There was a little bit of a sell-off happening on MEXC, almost 1 million sold on MEXC. Then also 500 and almost 2,000 was bought on OKX. And then unknown in terms of like additional exchanges, over 234 million XRP. So again, there was some buying happening, nothing like crazy in terms of like whales accumulating a massive amount or anything like that. But, we could see the trading volume. It's up about 7% today. 5.31 billion, which is clearly showing us that, yeah, there was some buy pressure today. In terms of Bitcoin, buy pressure and volume was actually up over 26, almost 27%. Now, trading volume is also sell pressure mixed with buy pressure, just so that you guys know. But, again, I do think that there has been a lot of buy pressure incoming around this market. I think that now, as we start to see the market stabilize a little bit, the floor to be formed on a lot of these charts as well, I think that we're probably going to start to see a little bit of significant inflows happening to some of these projects. But outside of that, let's actually talk about what I mean by, we are starting to see that big shift happening around these markets. Number one, I do want to put a spotlight on this post here from Watcher Guru. Now, a lot of people are saying that the rotation is happening from stocks into crypto because we did see a big update saying 3.25 trillion was wiped out of the US stock market today, but 5.4 billion was added to the crypto market. Now, we could see this side by side. This is what the stock market looked like earlier today, and this is what the crypto market looked like today as well. And even right now, if we actually look at crypto bubbles, we could see that this is primarily pretty green. Across the board, it's green. Like, it's not just the top 100, the top 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, etc. is all pretty much green today. Stocks, or in terms of exchanges, they're pretty green as well. But stocks are definitely getting hit a lot more. But a lot of people are starting to say, well, it's people selling their stocks, jumping into crypto. We also did see a pretty big inflow into stocks from the retail sector today, which I will put a spotlight on here in a second. But it's not just the fact that, crypto saw an inflow in terms of like, billions added to the market cap. We also saw the fact that Bitcoin to the Meg 7 ratio is hitting an all-time high. This is very interesting. It's starting to show us that there is a big inflow into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is starting to become a big focus outside of stocks. I've always stated in the past that we will most likely see, crypto, take off initially before stocks start to rebound. That's happened many times over. I mean, even if we go back to like March of 2020 for an example, crypto was kind of a front runner at that time. But even this is showing us that there is still a lot of strength behind Bitcoin and around crypto, opposed to, stocks. And I even think that the inflows in terms of like the actual market cap, is also a big signal of that. Now, I did also put out a post regarding this entire stock market crash that we have been witnessing. So I said, I'm pretty sure this entire stock market crash since the end of January was planned, because that's exactly how long this has been ongoing for. It was basically January 24th when we started to see the trade war actually officially begin. And since then, well, most of the market has been down. I mean, even if we think about XRP, right? Look at when XRP did hit that initial local top. This was back in the middle of January. Now we started to trade a little bit and start to kind of cool off a bit into like the end of January. Then, of course, the official start of the trade war, we sold off. And ever since then, we've been trying to break out, but there hasn't been much growth because of the markets being terrified of this trade war and what it could mean. Now, I did say we just witnessed a combined total of $10 trillion wiped out of the stock market. Just imagine how much money has gotten shaken out of these markets and how much is sidelined. Now I want to put into perspective what we are now seeing, which is hinting at a massive rally brewing behind the scenes. Number one, all big banks are pushing recession fears, i.e. JP Morgan, Goldman, Deutsche, etc. And by the way, they continue to push it. Even over here, we have JP Morgan. Trump tariffs will push US into recession this year. JP Morgan now expects the US economy to contract this year, slashing its GDP forecast from 1.3% growth to 0.3% loss. Following Trump's sweeping tariffs, unemployment is projected to rise to 5.3%, with the Fed likely to cut rates at every meeting through January, even as inflation climbs. Welcome to Stagflation 2025 edition. Now, again, this is where we start to see the recession risk really hitting the market and people overreacting, because guess what? When JP Morgan is telling us something, we should listen, right? It's so comical that people put so much trust behind players like JP Morgan that have been manipulating, the metals markets forever. I mean, when you really think about JP Morgan and these big banks, they do not care about you or me. Why would they warn us about a recession? They don't care about us. So the fact that the big banks are now starting to push fearful, headlines and starting to talk about recession fears, it's telling me that we should actually be preparing for the opposite to happen, which is, a big rally initially and then possibly a recession after. I think that, the markets are definitely going to get hit hard leading into 2025 or 2026, sorry. But I do think that 2025 is going to be a very big year for stocks and for crypto. And I still think that even now, with all of this bearish, headline articles getting pushed and the bearish sentiment that's getting extremely loud. But I also said retail sentiment is absolutely slaughtered, with fear and greed indexes hitting single digits. And yeah, we did see, over here, the fear and greed index and the Kabasi letter actually started to flip a little bit. The Fear and Greed Index closed this week at 4, extreme fear. There has rarely ever been a time in recent history with more fear in the market. So why would we be fearful at this time if the entire crowd is fearful, right? I've always said it, and I've said it even in a previous video. Why would we be a follower when we could be a leader here? Okay? I am not going to be fearful until we actually have to be. Right now is a time where I feel like if we do the opposite of what the crowd is doing, we will be extremely successful. And I still think that this market is going to shock a lot of people by this massive rally, in terms of like a relief rally. You could call it that, right? You could call it whatever you want. I still think that, the next big move here is up. And I even said here that mainstream media pushes fear porn headlines while Jim Cramer urges boomers to sell. The DXY is crashing, bullish signal to risk assets, i.e. crypto and stocks. And yes, if you guys haven't been looking at the dollar, I advise you go and check out the chart for it. It has been crashing hard. Almost all charts hovering around macro support or on macro trends. We just witnessed the largest time plus price action capitulation in a very long time. Many are claiming it's similar or worse than COVID. What's crazy is that Bitcoin is at 80K plus and some altcoins like XRP are at major highs. In my opinion, these markets are terrified and have been for weeks. I personally see a massive rally coming over the next few weeks that will shock the majority as usual. It's time to lock in or get locked out. And yes, right now, there's definitely retail buying, okay? That's one big misconception that a lot of people will say is like, all right, well, retail is way too scared. They won't buy at all. In fact, retail actually bought $4.7 billion in stocks today. This was a historical day for the markets, by the way, because this is the highest level of investment in over a decade into stocks. Concurrently, hedge funds sold global equities at the largest one-day amount since 2010. This significant activity in the stock market occurred amidst a market dip influenced by recent tariff announcements, highlighting a notable contrast in investment behaviors between retail and institutional investors. So again, this was one of the most historical days around these markets, but it's happening at a time where the noise is so loud around the fear levels, right? Like everything is getting pushed to the retail sector to make them sell. Even over here, right? So this is the founder of the Coinbase letter, right? We have the risk of a credit event happening in the US has risen to 2023 regional bank crisis levels. Markets believe a credit event is near. Now, listen, do I think that these markets are in for a storm going forward, right? I do think that at some point in time, we are going to hit a brick wall. Right now, I don't believe is that point. I still think that we have a massive rally before that. But what's interesting about these charts is that a lot of people will go back to like the regional bank crisis and they will compare it to like the trade war that we're in right now. But if we go back in time to 2023, okay, it's actually more noticeable on Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin was like a major winner during that time. If we zoom out and we go to 2023, this was right around the time where Bitcoin started to run. And then this is when the bank crises, if you will, started to happen, right? Like the banks started to sell off, they started to crash. And it's funny because during this time, right, you wouldn't even notice that the markets were actually terrified or that there was any bearish events happening during March of 2023. Because when you zoom out, look at where we are at right now. It's comical, but that's exactly why when we start to see a lot of these fearful posts, we kind of have to go back in time to those points and say, well, what happened during that time? What was really going on during that time? And even right now, I feel like it's very obvious that we are going to have a massive rebound in this market, but so many people have their judgment clouded by all of these bearish posts. That's why I put out this post to really kind of, try to get people to realize what's going on. We are being force-fed fearful articles by the same people that do not care if we make money or not, which is the big banks, Wall Street. Since when in history did Wall Street or the big banks ever tell us anything that helped us make money? This is why I keep saying that I do think that a lot of this was planned. I think that they wanted to shake out as many people as possible, and I think that they want retail to sell. What happens next around these markets, and I will eat my words if I have to, I truly do believe that we are going to see one of the biggest rallies that we've witnessed in a very, very long time, because we now have peak fearful levels. We have single-digit fearful levels. This is a historical fearful level. The fear around these markets, around stocks, and around the economy is at all-time highs. And if we go back in time to significant events like 2008, guess what? The fear was not there until it was already happening. We do not top on fear. We do not crash on fear. We crash on euphoria. We crash and we top on everyone being so excited and so happy, and they can't stop looking at their portfolio. They're going out, they're buying a brand new car, they're looking at houses, they're doing this, they're doing that. We are not there yet, which is why I'm not concerned at all at this current point in time. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.